Okay, so we've been working with two-point perspective. Today I want to talk a little bit about how to turn our boxes that we now know how to make into other objects. So the first thing we want to think about is, what do those forms look like as two-dimensional shapes? To talk about that, I have a paper here with some squares on it already. And we want to think about, what are these basic shapes that we're talking about. So the first thing we'll quickly think about is a triangle, right? We have two ways to think about a triangle. One would be just slicing our square in half, and we get triangles pretty easily. The other would be thinking about a triangle in the middle here, right? So in order to do that, I need to know where is the middle of my line. Now, here it's easy, but in perspective it would be a little bit harder. So let me show you how to find the middle. And you can find the middle of any square, or just about any shape at all, by drawing an X through your object from corner to corner. All right? Right there is the very center of that box. Now, I could then, since my verticals remain vertical in two-point perspective, I just then transfer that information to the top. I was close, but it wasn't quite there in my estimation. So I can now make a triangle using that information. Now I can do that in any direction, obviously, that I want. All right. So you can extrapolate that out, obviously, to other shapes. But I want to talk about a circle first. Circle one tends to really throw people because it's rounded, right? So straight lines usually make a lot more sense than curved lines in perspective because, well, everything's done with a ruler, right? So there is my midpoint. And now I'm going to break this up. Okay, so a circle will touch all four of these points. And as many videos will show, it's about 3/4 of the way, or a third rather, of the way through here as well. So I'd find a circle that way. These are important things I need to know. We'll move these into two-point perspective in a moment. And I flip this page. So I'm just going to think about, I'll do a quick triangle and then we'll talk about circles and how those work. So let's see, which one of these we'll use. I think we will turn this one here into a triangle. Now, I can't measure that, right? We said that won't work in perspective because the measurements don't quite mean anything in the same way. I just want to find the middle. All right, there's the middle of the box. And again, come straight up. It's super important. All of those vertical lines work. Okay, so I'm going to start with a triangle on this face. Now, I'm going to make what we call a triangular prism so I can see through it. If you don't see through it, it's a triangular solid. So there's my triangle on the face of this here, and I want to bring that all the way back. Now, I could go and do that same information on the back. I don't need to with the triangle. It's pretty straightforward because I have this point, right? Just like any of my other points, if I connect it to my vanishing point, right? Here is now the center of the other face. And again, I'm instead of doing a prism, which means you can see through it, right? So, you begin to see that this is the side, yes? This is the underside, and we have a triangular prism there. Obviously, I could go and erase all of this extra stuff here to help me see it. Right. So this is great for a roof on a house if I want to do that. Some cheese. Whatever I want to turn that triangular solid or prism into. All right. So let's take a look at some circles. I'm going to turn this into a can. So again, I want to find the center. You notice I don't always draw my lines all the way across if I don't need to. Just means less erasing. However, if you have trouble following this idea, go ahead and draw your line all the way across and erase, whatever. So now, going this way, I can't just go straight, right? There are no horizontal lines down here. They need to go to my vanishing point. So that's where my circle is going to hit. Now before I move on, I'm going to do the back end too. Again, I don't have to do all of that finding the middle again, unless I want to, because I can just extend the information I found using my vanishing points, right? Okay, those are all 4 of my places on the front and the back. I'm going to draw an ellipse to represent the circle that would be there. Okay, I have one on either side, and now I'm going to connect them. So where do I connect them? Wherever that sort of final edge is where your connections will be. Let's see, about there. Again, like any sort of solid, I would add some sort of shading in there to kind of show this can that I have there. You can start to see that cylinder, that can. So you can do any shape this way. The hardest one would be a sphere. Now, I'll go through right now how to do a basic sphere. If you follow this, awesome, go for it. If this seems beyond you, don't worry about it. All right, I'm going to turn this one here into a sphere. For a sphere, I need to find the center and all the midpoints of all the sticks here, right? It's hard. First, I'm going to do a pyramid over here. This could be something that maybe you might want to do. So, pretty simple idea. I find the midpoint of one face. Oh, look at that. It lines up with the same thing as my front and back. Just happens to be where it is. Sometimes that happens. Depends on where you've got it positioned. So I take that midpoint on that face, and I'm going to connect it to all four of, so that's already there, that's already there, you're not going to see them. All four of my corners, 1, 2, 3, 4, get connected to my midpoint here, right? As I'm shading this, I want you to notice that I'm thinking about where those lines would go in perspective, right? On the horizon line, they're horizontal. Everywhere else, as they go below, they tilt down. As they go above, they tilt up, okay? You want to think about that as you are making anything in perspective. Spheres are tricky. Here we go. If you're still with me, good luck to you. Here we are. Many people will just say, just sort of go for it, right? Just make a circle and make it look like it belongs there. This is the way to actually do it the right way. It's tough. So I'm working on the information I would need for a circle, right? And I want that on all 6 sides. I need all of that information. Which means I need to make sure that my cube that I've made is already perfect. And I think this one's pretty close. So we're going to go with it. So I have enough information for a circle on the top and the bottom right now. I could do a can very easily, all right? But again, we're going for the full-on sphere. So I'm going to do one more side, and then I'm just going to transfer my information around. Center point from one to center point to the other. Ooh, actually, that's not enough information, is it? Haha. All right, there we are. Edge there. And edge there. Okay, so I've got midpoints everywhere. It's a lot of information here. I need centers here and here still. Okay. With all that information there, tons of information, now I start to construct some basic ideas of ellipses, the circles that would be. So I've got information for 3 there, right? Now, I need 1 if it existed in the center. And then I start to construct this information together. Yes, that's there. And for the most part, because of where this is, there is my sphere. Now again, if I want to be able to understand where all of the axes of it are, if I want to use this sphere to do things like turn it into a head or anything like that, I want to have all of my axes involved. So there's my sphere in perspective. It's exactly where it would be within the idea of that box. See how much smaller it looks because you're cutting off all of these corners. Right? It's a lot of corners you're cutting off. I'm noticing that it's probably not, yeah, because that circle would be here, right? But I'm cutting off the edges of that as well. So my sphere is just there. All right, so we got a sphere. We've got our triangular prism. Again, it's a cylinder here. This is a pyramid. So these are some shapes some forms you can use, and then you can combine these together, right? You can do things like adding a sphere on top of a cylinder, or a cube with like a triangular roof. You can make a roof on things. You could do pyramids that look like houses as well. There's lots of stuff you can do. Have fun with this. Be creative. Try to think of where you can go.